Top of the day, beautiful people. Top of the day. All right, beautiful people. Happy Monday. It is the last day of the month. Where does time go? It is February the 28th, 2022. Day number 43 of year 4, reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1061. Today we're going to start in tablet D of the complete Annunaki Bible, starting on page 96. And once we get done with that, we possibly going to finish up chapter 24 in my big toe, starting on page 198. But we'll see. All right, Shayla, peace and blessings, betwabu. Okay, let's get going. All right, so may the truth continue to reveal itself to us. All right, that's our opening today. That's our opening. Keep it short and sweet. We'll change it every day. All right, we're trying not to get stuck in certain modes. I'm trying to adjust my mind to flowing and being able to adjust as needed, when needed, and not take so long to adjust. Trina, hey girl, hey. Okay, tablet D, book of Dzan and the universe. A century ago, the first of the 7 gates of our dimensional threshold, or some might say apocalypse, of this modern age began to swing wide. During this time, the world witnessed public resurgence of mystical and magical organizations pursuing the deep and ancient mystery tradition of the ages. Western Mardukite ideals became of significant interest to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Crowley's AA Aurum Solis, and the Tahuti OTO that sought to revive the Egypto-Babylonian stream current. Another group of individuals, known as a Theosophical Society, also sought to bring new meaning to a widening of the same eon gate that other magicians and mystic practitioners were experiencing at the time. The first part of this book of Dzan is composed of 7 chief stanzas of cosmic evolution, cosmogenesis, clearly presented as an Eastern-oriented version of the 7 tablets of creation mirrored in the Enuma Elish. The second part of the book of Dzan is composed of 12 stanzas dedicated to the generation of humans, anthropogenesis, I think I said it right the first time, anthropogenesis. Both parts of the book are composed of individual verses within the stanzas called slokas. The second part has 49, while alluding to several hundred more. Although these writings carry a genuine energetic resonance, it is likely that they are recreations of a devoted seeker rather than literal translations of the ancient tablets. Tiffany Hager, hey. Okay. So this first tablet within tablet D is called the Cosmogenic Tablets, tablet 1. And it looks like it's like 8 verses. All of them are numbered. Okay. All right. Oh, this is pretty short. We'll probably finish all of this today. Okay, tablet 1. The eternal parent, shrouded in ever invisible robes, had slept again for 7 eternities. Time was not in existence, for it slept in the bosom of duration. The universal mind was not, for there was not to contain it. The 7 paths of enlightenment were not, and the 7 demons of misery were not, for there was no one to manifest them and become ensnared by them. Darkness filled the boundless all, and there and the three were one, as the sun had not yet awakened to the path. The seven supreme lords and the seven truths had ceased to be, and the maternal universe, born of necessity, was drowned in the abysmal knot, for nothing was. The causes of existence had ceased living, the invisible and visible to rest in eternal nothingness, the existence of the one. Alone, the nothing stretched, unbounded, infinite, and in a dreamless sleep. Life existed unconscious within universal space, the all which is sensed by the open eye of the one. Where was the one when the great will was confounded? And that was the last verse, verse 9 of tablet 1. Tablet 2 is 6 verses. Where were the builders? Where were the bringers of the dawn? In unknown darkness, the producers of form slept in nothingness. Where was the silence? Where were the ears to sense it? For no silence or sound existed, nothing but eternal breath, who knew not its own existence. The proper hour had not arrived, and the ray did not flash. The womb of creation had not yet swollen, the heart of the universe had not yet been opened to receive one ray, which would be then fractured into manifold parts to be perceived as the Maya, maternal illusion of the world. Darkness was father, mother, and the seven sons of creation had not yet been born from the matrix of light. The two germs of creation are one. Shroud in divine thought, the universe had yet to experience itself. Tablet 3. The seventh eternity gives its last vibration, and the womb of creation swells from within like the lotus flower. The vibration extends throughout the whole universe, permeating the darkness that breathes over the waters of life. Darkness radiated the light of the one ray into the virgin egg of the womb, and when the egg had condensed the light, it became the world egg, material universe. The ray divides, and from 3 to 4 to 7, becoming seven within and without, and from the depths of the mother, the root is nourished in the waters of life. The root and light emanated, but the all was still one undivided. The root of life extended to every drop of the waters of life, and the waters were radiant with light, fire, heat, motion, etc. And the darkness vanished and was no more, swallowed by its own essence. The son of dark space emerges from the great deep, shining forth as the divine dragon of wisdom. Behold the lifting of the veil, a place for the shining ones is manifested. Where is the darkness now? Where is the spirit of the flame? What is the light but the radiant sun of the dark Father who remains hidden? The light yielded life and the water of life from the womb. Then was formed a matrix of light, spun between the hidden depths of the light of the one darkness and the shadowy depths of the manifested matter. Thus was the universe made one between the two. The matrix of the universe was set to expand when the breath of fire was set upon it, and to contract when the breath of the mother was set upon it, at such time that the sons returned to the womb of the mother at the end of days. The points on the matrix are hardened into atoms, and each is a universe unto itself. Tablet 4. Listen, you sons of earth, to your instructors, the sons of fire. There is no first or last, for the all is one, the sacred number which is issued from no number. Listen and learn to what we, the primordial seven, born of the primordial flame, have learned from our fathers. From the rays of ever dark sprang the reawakened energies of the builders and the elements, the holy numbers and the essence, that which was to put into divine man a sum of these energies, given power to manifest the forms and sparks of his own creation. From the divine mother came the legions of the voice, and the seven produced geometric sparks, the basis of material reality, which is darkness, the boundless nothing with no number, followed by the one, and the voice who is the one, and 9 and the formless square foundation enveloped within the sphere of the 4, which is also 10 in the material universe, and the 7 who left out the one, which made 8, that one was given to the light bearer. After the second 7 came the sun stars, who are countless. Tablet 5. The fiery whirlwind is born of the primordial 7 and the first 7 breaths of the dragon of wisdom. The fiery whirlwind made a messenger of their will. The swift son of the divine sons passes like lightning through the fiery clouds. He calls to the innumerable sparks, and they were united, and they are united. The swift son becomes a guiding spirit and leader, separating the kingdoms into the 6 directions of space, with the central point, wheel, remaining the 7th. Spirals are traced to unite the 6 kingdoms with the 7th middle wheel or crown, and the first divine world is manifest. A watchtower is raised at the corners of the quartered square. The triangles of creation are traced to form the boundaries, and the past not veil is woven over the material world, and the kingdoms wheels are ever watchful of the veil. Tablet 6, Grand Rising, Uncle JB, Yahuwah is one. Yes, oh great spirit, Yah, creator of all life. Fill us, your children, with your truth as we live here in this physical realm till our spirit gets back home to the spiritual realm. The son of sons are called forth from their sleep in the great deep, lower abyss, and they become the 7 elements. The radiant, swift ones produces the 7 centers in brackets it has wheels, which are the seats, foundations of the universe. 7 small wheels revolve, each giving birth to the other. He, the radiant one, forms the wheels as he remembers them from the Ancient of Days, and they are rendered indestructible. At the 4th center, the sons were instructed to create their own images, but 1/3 refuses, and the curse is pronounced, the start of the first war. As the wheels turn, the destroyers fought against the builders, a war fought for the possession of the dark space between atoms. Make your calculations carefully if you are to predict the correct age of the wheels, and when you reach the 4th, you will see heaven, and in brackets it has nirvana, with eyes wide open. Tablet 7. Behold now the genesis of formless and sentient life. First the divine, then the spiritual, then the mind-born sons of the first Lord, known as the shining 7 ones. It is they who watch over you. The one ray is fractured into 7, and life precedes forms. When the one becomes 2, then the threefold manifests. The root of life never dies, and the spark of life are reflected by all of the waters of life. The divine spark permeates the 7 kingdoms or worlds of Maya. The minerals, metals, stones, plants, animals, Manu, divine man, and the perfected realm, white place. The watcher and his shadow are united in the firstborn, a bond which strengthens radiantly with every change. This is the state of your present will, said the flame to the spark. Then the builders came down from above to reign over the generations of men who would exist on the radiant earth. And that was the first tablet, and those were the 7 tablets within the first tablet. So now we're starting the anthropogenetic tablets. Okay, so remember, he said this is not the actual tablets, but from what they translated, it seems like a summary of what was written in the tablets from what they actually saw. So since this is what they had, it seems to them by reading it, it's someone's summary of what happened. Okay, so the anthropogenic tablets, tablet 1. The first Lord, the one eye, who breathe life into the one, and the 7, they who ride the celestial boats throughout the heavens. Lord of the shining face, The earth home is empty. Send your sons to people this world, said the Mother Earth. Send to me your servants. The Lord of the shining face sent a fire to be kindled within the earth. Hold on. The Lord of the shining face sent a fire to be kindled within the earth had been formed. That's what it says. Hold on, I'm gonna read it again. The Lord of the shining face sent a fire to be kindled within the earth had been formed. It seemed like it's missing a word. The people of the earth were to be under the rule of the fathers, and the men were to be mortals, not divine men, while the men of immortal wisdom are immortals. Be patient as the seven veils are not yet completed, and the men are not yet ready. The earth took on the seven veils. Tablet 2. The wheel turned another 30 degrees. The small lives came upon earth, and when they grew too innumerable, the earth shook them off. With another 30 degrees, no sons of heaven arrived, and the earth began to bore her own abominations of the deep, waters that grew to become terrible and chaotic. From the remains of the first came the second, and with each generation they were covered in more grime and pitch. And when the sons of fire descended, they were displeased and found no pure land or pure waters. The fires descended by day and night. The putrid waters were drained, and another war began between the goat headed and the dog headed and the fish headed ones. The earth wept and was lonely. And after all the life had been extinguished, the earth asked to be extinguished and reborn. Tablet 3. The Lord of Lords descended and separated the waters from the first heaven. Then the Lords, Annunaki, called upon the Lord of the moon to bring forth men from the blood of Kingu, both male and female, the descendants of the flame. The seven arrived, and the lands were divided into seven continents, and each was given his lot. But the lords of flame remained behind, unwilling to create. Tablet 4. The seven hosts will born lords, or it says will, WILL dash born lords. Will, I guess by their will they were born. Tanya Bunbury, Grand Rising. Z, thank you. The seven hosts, will born lords, were moved by the divine spark and settled their lands. They separated themselves from the men of the earth. Then came the 7 generations, shadows of men, each generation becoming more inferior to his father. How is it that men were born of the earthly fire? The thinking men with minds, how were they made? They could stand, walk, run, but remained a senseless shadow. The fathers gave the breath a form, and the earth molded it. The fathers needed the divine spark of life, and so it was borrowed from the solar logos. A mirror image of a body was needed, and so the Creator said, "We will give it our own image." But man yet to develop a personal spirit, and so the soul program was devised. Tablet 5. The first of the generations was brought forth by the yellow sun, father, and the white lady, mother. The second generation was born of budding and expansion and were sexless. Their fathers were self generated, born of the brilliant bodies of the lords, the fathers, the sons of twilight. When the ancient race became old, they dissolved into the stream of the fires of life, and from the ashes came the new shadows. Tablet 6. From the second generation came the egg born of the third. When first created, the sexes were one, but male and female came. For the self born were the shadows from the bodies of the sons of twilight. Tablet 7. The sons of wisdom and the sons of night were ready for the rebirth in earth bodies, and so they came down. But they saw the bodies they could inhabit from the third generation and thought them to be vile. They gave to the third the divine spark, and they were finally ready. In these we shall dwell, they said among themselves. Why did the sons of wisdom and knights act so? They rejected inhabitation of the self born who were not quite ready. When finally the sons had entered the egg born, the lords of wisdom were satisfied and said, now we shall create. The third race or generation became the lords of wisdom, and they created the sons of will, the ancestors. Tablet 8. From the ashes of the dead bodies of men and animals of the prior will, or WHEEL, which is representing the age, from the prior age, they were dusted off, and new animals came forth. The animals of the earth, the dragons of the deep, the flying serpents were added to the species of the creeping things. During the third generation, the species of animals solidified. The animals formed unions and reproduced, and so did the male and female humans couple together and reproduce. And those who possessed no divine spark became dumb, and they bore monsters and abominations of shame. Tablet 9. Looking upon this, the Lord of Lords wept and said, we did not fashion these abominations which will destroy our future home. Such will be our karma, or in brackets it has fate, destiny, if we do not dwell in others and teach them better. The humans became instilled with a divine spark of inspiration and wisdom, and they recognized the sins of the mindless. And with this upgrade, the fourth generation developed speech. And with this, all the living things that were once one became two. Tablet 10. Moving forward two by two, the third race gave birth to the fourth, and their gods became non gods. The Sura became Asura. The first were moon colored, the second were yellow like gold, the third were red, and the fourth were brown, which became black with sin. The first seven were purest, the next seven began to intermix. Yo. So while I'm reading this, I'm thinking about, have y'all I may have shared it. I think I shared it. I know I shared it on Facebook. I don't think I shared it on YouTube last year, towards maybe I think the middle of last year, when I was looking more into the Hopi prophecy. I'm gonna reshare it today. I'm gonna reshare it today. This is what this is reminding me of, right? And it talks about the different races of man, right? The yellow race, the black race, the red race, and the white race, right? And it's talking about the tablets that were given and that were broken up in between each race. I'm gonna share it with y'all. Y'all got to listen to it to know what I'm talking about and how it seems like it's relating to this right here. Hold on. It's about, I think it's like about 40 minutes long, and he's going through, he's passing down information. He said he's a native from one of the Native American tribes, like what the media pushes Native Americans are, right? So it was passed down to him, and which particular tablet each nation had, and where that particular tablet of information is being held by their leaders or their tribal chiefs or wherever, right? Okay, I'm gonna share this. Y'all gotta listen to this today if y'all haven't heard it. Some of you may heard it before. I know I shared it with my sister, my mama. Okay, let me go back. I'm gonna start it over. Z. Shalom, AR. Do I know where we are supposed to flee to? Y'all, that's a whole nother conversation in itself. We'll talk. How should I answer that? If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, like Israel fleeing to the wilderness, we really gonna have to break that down, because I think some people are really explaining this wrong. In light of new information or information that we're just now being privy to, especially with all that we've been explaining and experiencing over the last few months, I think the explanation of what that is it's a little misconstrued where we're supposed to flee to, right? We'll talk about that, but just be at peace now where you're at. Okay, you have yellow walls. It reminds me of Encanto. You have a gift of the Encanto of your home. You got to go back and watch our video where Encanto is in the title a few weeks ago. See, look. Oh, somebody kid they see. They done took my Encanto thing. Actually, you would have noticed up here. I know my daughter took it. I had it sitting up here. I got the whole little Encanto. You see the casita with all the little characters in there. I know she took it. She been trying to open my Encanto figurines for the last week, and she got me. I don't know what she did with it, but it was sitting back here. But yeah, I know, right? This is my casita. Okay. All right, let me get back to this. Okay. Tablet 10. Moving forward, two by two, the third race gave birth to the fourth, and their gods became non gods. The Sura became Asura. The first were moon colored, the second were yellow like gold, the third were red, and the fourth were brown, which became black with sin. The first seven were purest, the next seven began to intermix. With pride, the fourth grew tall. Kings among them made as gods. They took wives from the fair folk and produced monsters, both male and female demons, no longer sexless. When they raised the temples to man and worshiped the body of male and female, the third eye was closed to them. Yo, hold on. We're going to swing back around to that. Tablet 11. Huge cities were raised to the gods of rare mineral and metal. From these materials, they cut their own images to worship. Inner fire destroyed their fathers. Waters threatened the fourth. The waters came and swallowed the seven lands or continents. The holy dragon blood was saved. The unholy destroyed along with huge animals produced from the sweat of the earth. And this is the last tablet within tablet D, tablet 12. Few men remained after the deluge, some yellow, some brown and back, and some, hold on, that is definitely missing an L. Hold on. Few men remained after the deluge, some yellow, some brown and black, and some red remained. The moon race was gone. The fifth were produced from the dragon blood that remained, and it was ruled over by the first of the divine kings on the earth. The Annunaki returned and descended again among men, making their peace with the fifth generation and teaching them to raise a human civilization and to be carried forth into posterity. And some of this we remember from reading through some of the last chapters in the Lost Book of Enki, right? So this is given a little more detail from what the Lost Book of Enki didn't necessarily give. Okay, where we at? We at 28 minutes. Okay, I think we're gonna pause right here because next starts tablet E, and this is Book of Eclipses and the Astrology. And this is not as long as I thought it was going to be, but it gets into the zodiac. So we're gonna save this for tomorrow. Plus, we about at the 30-minute mark. So we got 30 minutes of this. And we're gonna go ahead and jump over into my big toe. My big theory of everything. All right, y'all. So we'll pause right here. Remember, this is the complete Anunnaki Babel. This is the more ancient Sumerian text from which most of our religions derive their text today. And when they derived their text, they changed some names, they took some stuff away, they added some stuff, but you can clearly tell whatever religion you come from, if you spent enough time in your religion reading through your religious manual, whether it's the Bible or the Quran, you will clearly be able to pick up that how it was taken from the more ancient one. And with the Bible being the newest of all of the religions, right? We can clearly tell that the Bible was plagiarized. It's clearly plagiarized. It's clearly plagiarized. A lot of people don't like to talk about it. They want to sleep in their comfortable slumber. All right, so we paused on page 198, and I said I was going to reread this last little paragraph. Okay, so we just finished up these different little side notes or asides where he was explaining what entropy was. Okay, so let's Let's go back up to where the aside ended. We'll go back a couple paragraphs on page 197 at the end of the little set aside, the last set aside rather. Okay. You will get more detailed information about these concepts later, talking about entropy and some of the examples he was given to explain entropy to you. Okay. You will get more detailed information about these concepts later. For the purpose of this section, you need only to understand that all things and systems of things are in an active process of change: animal, vegetable, mineral, technological, and organizational, and that the fundamental process is the basis for that change. All things evolve towards greater profitability. Profitability is defined by the degree of immediate success an entity has in dealing with the evolutionary pressures created by the constraints within their internal and external environments. This is true if the entity is an individual or a complex system of interrelated, dissimilar individuals. Non living and non growing things, such as uranium atoms, organic molecules, the house you live in, and the rocks in your backyard generally evolve toward minimum energy states. When non growing entities make a natural, spontaneous, or evolutionary change out of state, the lowest available energy state is defined as the most profitable next state to occupy. Most of the physical matter on and in our planet falls into this category. Thus, physical matter gradually follows a path to ever lower energy states, increasing its entropy as it evolves. To inanimate matter, natural spontaneous change due to interaction with its internal and external environments, which is evolution, disintegration, and increasing entropy, are all related and moving together in the same general direction. Typically, growing things, things that are in a state of becoming, can naturally and spontaneously, for at least some limited period of time, decrease their entropy. In contrast, the entropy of non growing things always naturally increases. In physical matter reality, the growing things ultimately depend on the non growing things, thus fulfilling the grim prediction of the second law of thermodynamics. We will discover that in mind space, where Ayo exists, or the creator, the eternal, the great creator of all, Ayo, in the mind space where Ayo exists as dim consciousness, there are no physical things and everything has the potential to grow. In mind space, seeking the lowest energy state is never a goal. Quite the contrary. For a consciousness system is the most profitable next state is one that enables the system to minimize its entropy. In other words, evolutionary change within a consciousness system is profitable for that system if it causes the entropy of the system to decrease. And this is where we paused at yesterday. So remember, Mom, shalom, shalom. Hold on, Dana, I saw your comment. Okay. I'm trying to connect the dots. I haven't been hearing any commandments or way of life in this Bible. Am I missing something? I get the similar stories, but okay. So we're going, the reason why we're reading through it is to see how the Bible that we have is taken from a more ancient version, which is the Sumerian text. If you read it enough, you'll pick it up where the commandments actually originated from and who actually gave the commandments. Whereas in the Bible, we're just talking about the Bible because that's where most of us here came from the church. To whereas when you get to the Bible, they attribute all the commandments to one God, when all actuality they weren't. They came from separate gods and they weren't actually worshiping the creator of all. It was the Annunaki, those who were also created by the great creator of all. So we're going through and we're informing ourselves on what the real truth is. So when you worship the creator of all, you make sure that you are truly worshiping the creator of all, right? We're just going through understanding where they originated from so we can make sure we're walking uprightly, right? And we're not getting twisted up in religion and things that were added and things that were taken away, right? So Yeah. So if that's what you're looking for like the commandments to kind of like stick to, if you still like need a guide to stick to and follow, I mean, the Bible kind of sum it up. It take the whole of everything and lump it into one. You can take this and worship the creator. Right? You can do that. We were doing that till we realized something was wrong. The more we read through it, we started to see the we started to realize that something was missing or something was off. But you don't even get to that point until you read it enough to begin to pick it up, right? So that's why we're going through here. Okay. There is a natural tendency for an entity to make those choices or to exploit or succumb to those changes that move the entity towards its evolutionary goals. That is, toward a more profitable configuration or mutually beneficial arrangement toward a lower energy state for physical matter or higher entropy or a lower entropy state, higher usable energy for consciousness. The fundamental process explores all the opportunities and possibilities for change, then extricably and statistically moves each entity, each collection of similar entities, such as a species or a field full of rocks, or each collection of collections of diverse entities, community, or ecosystem toward its immediate goals by continuing to evolve the winners. The fundamental process of evolution is a recursive process that builds layer upon layer of interdependent organization and structure, a process that repeats and folds back upon itself at many different scales and levels of interaction. Again, let me caution you to not be confused by the use of verbs in a sentence that has the fundamental process as the subject. That particular language construction is simply convenient and more succinctly expressive in describing the dynamics of evolutionary change. The fundamental process is a simple, natural process, not an active, sentient growth manager that can execute action verbs toward the achievement of some preconceived goal. Each evolving entity moves into all the possibilities open to it that it can afford to occupy. It continues to invest in the winners by succeeding within those possibilities that provide the most value or profitability, not by deliberate intellectual choice making, but by trying everything available and allowing whatever works holds immediate value for the entity to progress forward while letting whatever does not work, the losers, flounder. This is a natural selection activity from the inside executed by the evolving entity, not an intellectual activity or a directed response from the outside executed by the fundamental process. The only external forcing function is the external function in which the entity exists. And if y'all have gotten lost about this time or y'all came in late, we're reading My Big Toe. The whole purpose of reading My Big Toe is for us to break down who we are and who we are not, right? Looking at life, the states of life, states of being, by removing all religious mumbo jumbo, religious dogma, everything that gets us tripped up and keeps us going into circles where we're constantly chasing our tail, trying to figure out who the creator is, who we're praying to, all of this stuff, right? We're breaking down who we are, how we were created, how the body operates. In order to really do that, we needed to learn a little bit about the body, a little bit of anatomy and physiology, right? That doesn't just happen for Christians, or this doesn't just work for Christians, or if you're in a Muslim faith, or whatever it is, whether you worship Buddha. The way we are created, in simplest terms, we are spirits who reside inside of bodies. And if we don't understand that, we get trapped in this cycle of looking for something to worship. And this may sound a little blasphemous, right? But get where I'm going. You're looking for something, you're searching for your creator outside of yourself when he put himself already inside of you. And in order to get to him, you have to go within, which is why we have to learn about our bodies, how we operate, what our spirit is, right? So we can connect with the creator of all. Religions teach you to look for our creator outside of ourselves. And by going through all these religious things and being good, not that you shouldn't be good, because you should. You shouldn't be out here being a vagabond in the street, right? Don't don't get caught up on words and terms, right? You should, right? You should be the best that you can be. But in order to get to the creator, you have to go within. And if you don't even know what you're composed of, you will never reach them. And everything that happens outside of you, oh, that's a miracle. Thank you, Lord. And everything that we have need of, a lot of times, like I said before, it's like children growing up. It's a process. We should be growing spiritually like that as well, right? We shouldn't constantly just, oh, we got to go to this building and seek God or do this. You don't need that. You don't need any outside thing to teach you about that. It's all within. And that principle is even, although we talk about the New Testament a lot, that principle is even in the book of John, First John, matter of fact. You don't need any teachers to teach you anything, but the spirit that resides inside of you will teach you all things, will lead you and guide into all truth. That is a true principle that is found in there, right? And that's what we need to understand. They don't necessarily teach you about this because they teach you, go searching for God here, go searching for Yah here, and you got to do this, and you got to dress a certain way, and you don't need to be associated with these type of people. You have to only be associated with them. You have to be this color. All that's a bunch of garbage. It's a part of the illusion to keep you asleep and to keep you from why you are really here, right? It's to, you're here for your spirit to develop and grow, not to get attached to the illusions. It's like the earth is like an amusement park. It really is, right? But you have to learn how to grow. It's a school. It's amusement. It's an amusement park for some. It's really a school for the spirits to grow. Every piece of flesh walking around here has a spirit that's trapped on the inside of it, right? You've given this flesh to transition, to transverse this world to help your spirit grow and develop, right? And you should be in constant communion with the source of all. But until we get to a point where we realize that, oh, snap. And we realize we're supposed to go within, which is why the book starts off talking about meditation. And a lot of times you don't even reach that part until you actually have you start a habit of some type of devotion where you start beginning to meditate. You have to quiet the mind. Once you begin to quiet everything and close your eyes from the illusion around you, whether it's the TV, your daily working life, it's all an illusion, y'all. But it's also a great training ground for your spirit to grow and develop. And everybody here is in that same training program, right? But some, we forget that at a certain point in our childhood, that's forgotten, especially if you have your parents that don't know. So it just kind of, they bring you, when you're born, your eyes are more open than what it is when you're adults. A lot of times, especially if you don't have parents that have already awakened, they actually bring you out of truth and lead you into delusion, and hence the craziness of your life begins, right? So that's what we're doing. We're going through this, we're breaking down, and we're trying to separate truth from illusion so we can really begin to grow for real. That's where spiritual growth really begins. Not being, I'm stuck to this story. This is my story. This is my Bible. I have to keep to it. I mean, you can do that, but you can only grow spiritually so far. I mean, you may, by doing that, you may be able to live a good life, but spiritually, you're going to be stunted because you're not going to be able to see past the words written in the book, right? And when we never really had books in the first place, it was all given by everything that we have need of is already inside of us. We're just learning how to tap back into that. And by tapping back into that, we realize that a lot of words on the book is garbage, right? It actually takes you further away, or it keeps you asleep. So by realizing that, we can learn to tap into the true source of truth, the creator of all, as he begins to awaken our eyes, awaken us, and our eyes are open. And then we're not so much attached to books and words written on a page. We actually learn how to go pull the information directly from the source. So just in case you're just joining, trying to figure out why in the world we're reading Big Toe, it sounds like a bunch of scientific, what, how does this even line up with what y'all say y'all doing here? It has everything to do with why we're here. And you just happen to come in on a portion where it's given just a little bit of scientific detail about the mind and the consciousness and how it works, but it is all a part of us and growing spiritually and being able to connect to the source of all, which we call Yah. Some people still got call God or the Great Spirit. However you refer to the creator of all, that's who we are connecting with, trying to connect with, make sure we are connecting with, right? And not one of the lesser gods, not connecting to the creator's creation, right? And up until a certain point, we've simply just been connecting with the creator's creation, if that makes sense. Okay. So where we actually stopped at yesterday is right here. I'm gonna just pick it up. But I felt like I need to just do like a little small recap of where we're at. Because sometimes we read and we kind of forget why we're here. But I'll do that ever so often. There is a natural tendency for an entity to make those choices or to exploit or succumb to those changes that move that entity towards its evolutionary goals. That is, toward a more profitable configuration or mutually beneficial arrangement, toward a lower energy state for physical matter, which is higher entropy, or a lower entropy state, which is higher usable energy for consciousness. The fundamental process explores all the opportunities and possibilities for change, then inextricably and statistically moves each entity, a collection of similar entities, such as a species or a field full of rocks, or each collection of collections of diverse entities, community, or ecosystem, toward its immediate goals by continuing to evolve the winners. The fundamental process of evolution is a recursive process that builds layer upon layer of interdependent organization and structure, a process that repeats and folds back upon itself at many different scales and levels of interaction. Again, let me caution you not to be confused by the use of verbs in a sentence that has the fundamental process as the subject. That particular language construction is simply convenient and more succinctly expressive in describing the dynamics of evolutionary change. The fundamental process is a simple, natural process, not an active, sentient growth manager that can execute action verbs toward the achievement of some preconceived goal. Each evolving entity moves into all the possibilities open to it that it can afford to occupy. It continues to invest in the winners by succeeding within those possibilities that provide the most value or profitability, not by deliberate intellectual choice making, but by trying everything available and allowing whatever works, which holds immediate value for the entity, to progress forward while letting whatever does not work, the losers flounder, which is talking about us evolving and understanding, using the information that we're coming across to grow ourselves spiritually. This works, this doesn't work. Let's get rid of this, let's keep this, let's keep on going. Oh, we found that not to be the truth that we thought it was. Let's take that and move that to the side where we're getting rid of the losers, right? What we're doing here, we're getting rid of the losers, we're keeping the winners so we continue to grow spiritually, right? This is a natural selection activity from the inside executed by the evolving entity. We are the evolving entity, not an intellectual activity or a directed response from the outside executed by the fundamental process. The only external forcing function is the external environment in which the entity exists. From now on, when you read that the fundamental process does this or that, or makes this or that happen, or I use any action verb to describe an evolutionary effect, you will know what I mean, right? This same fundamental process, when it is applied to Earth based biological systems, produces the evolution you learned about in school. The fundamental process applied to consciousness produces different results because consciousness and its environments are different, but it is the exact same idea, the exact same process raised to a more general understanding. For that matter, the fundamental process also drives change in organizations and technologies. All sorts of technologies have evolved from the complex nest building of many insects, birds, and mammals to transportation, medical, agricultural, communication, networking, and computer technology developed by humans during the preceding century. The evolution of technology follows a similar fundamental process. It expands into the available states, needs, uses, applications, progressing the winners and I'm sorry, progressing the winners and dropping the losers. The evolutionary pressure defined by the criteria for profitability flows from the constraints of usefulness, feasibility, marketing, economics, and business. Here, profitability can be literal as well as figurative. Technological evolution, the evolution of a technical entity, is like the evolution of any entity. As technology evolves, it produces an increased richness and complexity of potential future states that creates more evolutionary opportunities for new or improved technologies. As evolution progresses, the pace of change accelerates. Technological evolutionary pressure comes from the external economic environments of raw materials, marketing, supply, distribution, demand, and price, as well as the internal environments of feasibility, design, engineering, parts availability, manufacturing, quality, pricing, and finance. Mutations and new technical entities may seem to spring into being quickly and discontinuously, yet all are built upon the knowledge base or genetic pool of earlier technical entities. The fundamental process works basically the same way with all types of entities: physical, non physical, which we call spirits or demons, whatever term you're going to use: physical, non physical, human, insects, bacteria, molecules, rivers, mountains, rocks, organizations, nations, consciousness, automobiles, or computers. The differences in evolutionary patterns among animals, organizations, consciousness, and technology are not due to differences in the evolutionary process, but rather to the variety of entities and to the variety of environments and constraints that define the criteria for their profitability. It is the fundamental process that encourages life and other types of evolvable systems or entities, including technological, organizational, social, and so on, to flow into any niche or configuration that can profitably sustain them. For consciousness, living things, organizations, and technology, dynamic, repetitive implementation of the fundamental process of evolution represents the natural statistical inclination of an entity, organism, species, or a complex interconnected population of entities to grow into and become whatever is most profitable from each organization's point of view. I know some of y'all done completely zoned out on me because it sounded like a bunch of blah, 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 wonk, wonk, wonk. Just stick with me. He's explaining in detail the fundamental process. Just stick in there, y'all. Just stick in there. I promise. Just stick in there. It's almost kind of like reading through the genealogies in the Bible. It's like, yeah, let's skip that part. But you got to pay attention because it's really needed. Simpler entities sometimes band together cooperatively to form more complex entities and systems that are more powerful and thus more profitable for all participants. Groups of entities may develop mutually beneficial relationships and dependencies because they share an interactive, synergetic environment. Eventually, after much integration, the view of the whole becomes more significant than the view of each part. They become one complex thing, a system that evolves as its parts evolves. Next comes systems of systems, and so on, as complexity, specialization, and higher orders of organization, decreasing entropy, become profitable. Consciousness, alligators, governments, planet Earth, and the internet all evolve the same way. Exactly what constitutes living and conscious and how such systems are uniquely defined will be described later in this section. In short, the fundamental process explores every available opportunity and every possibility on all levels and invests more heavily in whatever actually returns the best overall profits. So pretty much you're you're going to see this thing completely through fundamental process before the next level of growth happens, you have to explore every single avenue on every single level. You have to make sure that you what's that word, you make sure you have to exhaust every single thing on this level, and you derived and you pulled everything from this level that you absolutely can pull before you move. That's the way the fundamental process works in everything, not just humans, in the spiritual realm, in the systems that we create with the computers or the way we develop automobiles. All these things is the same underlying spiritual principles, or call it the fundamental process, works the same exact way. In short, the fundamental process explores every available opportunity and every possibility on all levels, and invests more heavily in whatever actually returns the best overall profits. In carbon based biology, the assessment of profit has traditionally been based upon the constraints of survival and reproduction. The Earth's biology represents one special case of the application of a much more general evolutionary process. For instance, the non living and non growing entities I'm sorry. For instance, for non living and non growing entities, what is most profitable is usually the lowest available energy state, the easiest and cheapest state to achieve. The sequence of these lowest available energy states or choices made by an inanimate entity defines the path of least resistance, which that entity naturally follows if it is not impacted by an external energy forcing it to do otherwise, right? Or object in motion will continue in motion uh unless it's hit by another opposing force, right? So if this ball is rolling straight, right? Y'all get it. Y'all get it. I ain't got to give an example for that. That's really elementary. Okay. The sequence of these lowest available energy state choices made by an inanimate entity defines the path of least resistance, which that entity naturally follows if it is not impacted by an external energy forcing it to do otherwise. That is why atoms decay, your house continually needs maintenance, and rocks roll downhill. Even the most basic forms of physical matter reality activity. Remember, physical matter reality is this realm we live, the physical flesh. Non physical matter reality is what we deem to be the spirit realm, right? Okay. Even the most basic forms of physical matter reality activity follow the evolutionary pattern of choice and profitability. Thus, a radioactive atom decays, and the shelf life of a battery deteriorates according to the fundamental process. On the other hand, an atom is pumped up to a higher energy state, sand is turned into sandstone, and mountains are thrust up along fault lines because of the input and absorption of external energy. Even in these circumstances, the energy plus the absorbed and retained energy will arrange themselves into the most profitable minimum energy configuration. The big picture fundamental process of evolution, or fundamental process for short, is as follows. An entity starts from any point or level of existence or being, spreads out its potentiality into or explores all the available possibilities open to its existence. Eventually, populating only the states that are immediately profitable while letting the others go. It then iteratively progresses the successful states to their logical conclusions by probing new opportunities and limitations. As long as there are profitable opportunities, the process continues to iterate and the entity continues to evolve. You can actually see this on a much, much lower, much more relational level, like men searching for women or men going after women, taking on different women, trying out different women. Which one? Yeah, no, you're not wife material. Yeah, you just for fun. You just good for the late night booty call. But no, not wife material. And vice versa, right? You can see this whole fundamental process taking place, right? And when they feel they have the one or their soulmate, or the one that causes them to stop all their shenanigans and their their wild life of sowing their oats, they choose to settle down, right? And that you can see that fundamental, that basic fundamental process happening even in marriage and choosing a mate, right? But then after you get married, that same fundamental process continues to happen as you continue to grow, but it starts all over and it looks a little bit different, but it's still the same fundamental process causing you or teaching you how to grow, to become better, right? Or you become stagnant, or eventually you're part ways because you couldn't grow, you couldn't see the process happening, or you fighting against, you allowing external circumstances to impede the fundamental process. I'm just saying, when you see it, you can't unsee it, and you can see it in everything. Okay. The big picture fundamental process of evolution, or fundamental process for short, is as follows. An entity starts from any point or level of existence or being, spreads out its potentiality into or explores all the available possibilities open to its existence, eventually populating only the states that are immediately profitable while letting the others go. It then iteratively progresses the successful states to their logical conclusions by probing new opportunities and limitations. As long as there are profitable opportunities, the process continues to iterate and the entity continues to evolve. Additionally, Additionally, intermediate states can generate, branch to, or be the potential seeds for new states. States that no longer hold potential for or do not support profitable growth may persist or be recombined with others with which they are redundant. Potential is generally maintained in the event that new initial condition appear. What? Let me read that again. Potential is generally maintained in the event that new initial conditions appear. Okay. We will now apply the fundamental process to our assumption of an absolute unbounded oneness, or the great creator. So all those different examples and stuff, now that you kind of understand that he didn't kind of beat a dead horse, now it's going to apply it to the creator, right? Or AO, absolute unbounded oneness. We will now apply the fundamental process to our assumption of an absolute unbounded oneness, AO. The first step in that process is to expand an entity's potential for existence or being into all significant possibilities or available states. And apparently, but not actually, infinite, absolute, unbounded, undifferentiated thing can most obviously find potential new states of existence or possibilities of being by changing its undifferentiated oneness. That is, it can most directly and easily interact with itself. Additionally, because at this point in our story, Ayo is the only thing we have posited, or we, yeah, this says posited. Ayo is the only thing we have posited to exist. It is logically necessary that it interact only with itself, with us being a part of Ayo, right? We are, if the great creator is complete consciousness, completely conscious of everything, and we are pieces of that consciousness sent out to grow, we can communicate with ourselves. And you hear some people saying you are the self, or you communicate with self, or with God, or you are God, or we are a part of God. He's sent down here into this realm to grow and then to bring the information back, right? We develop. Okay. That is, it can most directly and easily interact with itself. Additionally, because at this point in our story, Ayo is the only thing we have posited to exist, it is logically necessary that it interact only with itself. Most biological things are aware of their environment. External awareness of things such as hot, cold, acid, base, and wet, dry. Additionally, they are aware of themselves. Internal or self awareness of things such as hungry, full, hydrated, dehydrated, threatened, safe, peaceful, agitated, hurt, not hurt, plain, pet pleasure, joy, sadness, and fear or love. All life forms, biological, consciousness, or otherwise, change themselves. Sometimes the change is in reaction to the environment, they adapt. Sometimes the change is internally generated. They mutate. Evolution typically moves toward more complex, capable, and highly organized lower entropy forms, building upon or enhancing the earlier, simpler forms. Okay, I think to make that, I think we can, I know that sounds like really scientific, but I think I can explain it. Okay, let me read that again. And I said, sometimes the change is internally generated, they mutate. Evolution typically moves toward more complex, capable, and highly organized lower entropy forms, building upon or enhancing the earlier, simpler forms. So we at this point would be producing lower entropy, right? Lower Having lower entropy is the path to least resistance. So it's easier for us to change because we're not fighting, well, some of us aren't fighting against the growth process. As we're breaking up religious mindsets, change will happen, and it will flow, and it will go into directions of least resistance. So people who are resistant to change, they're still holding on to like religious dogma. You have to do it this way. It's like running into a blockage in a pipe, right? And there's too much entropy built up there, and you can't change. It's like they stay the same, they don't move, right? But we entropy flow, lessen entropy, it change flows kind of through us because we are the path of least resistance, because we will change, we'll recognize, and we'll develop. Hence, we will continue to evolve. So we have less entropy than those with more entropy who are refusing to change. Not that asking questions or double checking, or that's a part of it, but when you realize um that something is not right, instead of just, oh well, I don't care that it's not right, this is the way I was taught, this is the way you got too much entropy going on, and change is not going to flow through you. The waters can't flow through you. You cannot evolve any further than what you are until you decrease some of that entropy you got built up on the inside of you, right? That's I think that's an easier way to understand what he just said, right? He said evolution, us evolving, right? Growing spiritually. Evolution typically moves toward more complex, capable, and highly organized lower entropy forms, right? We're becoming more complex, we're becoming more organized than our thoughts, because we're understanding what we are, who we are, where we descend from, what this body is, right? Our thoughts are now becoming organized. And when it's organized, it's like a maze that's being built, or say you got a maze going through your head. When those thoughts are organized and the information come in, it doesn't get stuck. Now we're organizing, we're putting the pieces in the right place, and now we're seeing a path, right? So all these thoughts scattered around in your head, now we've taken this information and we've made like this beautiful spiral. We've taken all this information and we're organizing it, right? And so now when the information comes in, it has clear paths to flow through. So now we've created a path for information to come through because we've organized all the, yes, son, don't do that. No, you can't, because I got work to do. We'll talk about this in a minute. So once you've Isaiah, later. Once we've organized these thoughts, they're highly organized, now we can grow, right? Is when the information flows in, it's not going to run into all these barriers and stuff. Yeah, you need to fix that. We'll come back to you again later, right? That's essentially what this means. Evolution typically moves towards more complex, capable, and highly organized lower entropy forms, building upon or enhancing the earlier, simpler forms. More advanced products of evolution can sometimes successfully change their environment, like prairie dogs building cool, moist underground homes in hot, arid places. Okay, so let's do this a little shorter side, and then we'll pause. Oh, we're about done. You know what? Let's just finish this. It's just like 2 pages left. We're gonna finish it, and we'll be done with chapter 24. Okay. Here's a little shorter side. Beep, 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 beep. Uh-oh. That is the number 3 audio alarm on my new problem meter. Hang on a minute while I find out what's the matter. All right, I see. No problemo. The solution is a simple one. Relax. You are not brain damaged, retarded, or becoming mentally infirm with old age. If you have not been graced with a career that brushes up against government organizations or wash in acronym stew, a poor memory for acronyms is normal. If you are not used to using acronyms, they seem, for most people, to have been given a special non-stick coating that causes them to constantly slip from memory. It is a natural brain wiring and symbol association problem that occurs when the name symbol represents a string of associated words instead of a single common name. The solution? Forget the words. Let the acronym be a single name. For those not used to acronyms, okay, Isaiah's waving to y'all from under a blanket. Overstanding 777. Peaceful greetings, Siemi. Okay, Zay. For those not used to acronyms, here's how it works. The first time or two you encounter an acronym, think about what the words mean, get a sense and understanding of the concept being talked about. Then forget about the individual words making up the acronym and use the acronym as the name associated with the meaning and concept the acronym represents. Subsequently, AO becomes a name like Fred, a name that you associate with a finite but seemingly infinite evolving primordial consciousness. It is that simple. AO becomes the proper name of a particular conceptual entity. Same thing like they do with Yahweh. That the acronyms Yahweh, Yahuwah, they do it's the same. It's an acronym, right? But the acronym has become a name, if that makes sense. It is that simple. AO becomes the proper name of a particular conceptual entity. If you do not treat the acronym as a name, you may feel obligated to look up what the constituting words are every time you see it. Dutifully, looking up acronyms wastes time and effort and generates little value. The individual words are not important. The concept, the definition, the meaning is important. Attach those to the acronym itself and go on, which makes a whole lot of sense, especially if you're going through that phase where you're changing the name of the creator or realizing that Jesus isn't the name of the creator, but you realize like the power. Okay, so power is still there. It's because you believe you associated that name with the creator, right? It's not necessarily the name. Now people harp on, oh, it's the name, which is why when you grow, that name no longer works for those who grow. It's like, wait a minute, now you're running into a whole different problem. It used to work. And so some people, because they don't know, they'll think when that begins to happen, they'll think, oh, I didn't get off into some kind of cult because Jesus used to work over here, but now it's not working here. No, that's just like children growing. Children can't continue to speak. My 5-year-old can't continue to speak goo goo gaga when I know you understand your words. I'm gonna stop responding to you. Not necessarily I ain't gonna stop responding to you, but I tell Bella, use your words. Like when baby doll over here, my grandbaby who was 1 year old and she's still kind of that the baby talking stage. Sometimes Bella start doing that shit. I'm like, use your words. You're a 5 years old little girl. Baby doll can speak that way, but you know how to talk. It's that same principle when you're growing spiritually, and you especially when you're coming out of church or whatever. We use a church because that's where we originate from, right? That what we're coming out of. It's that same thing. And once we realize that, then we stopped using the name Jesus and we started using Yeshua. Then it transitioned from Yeshua to Yahusha. Then from Yahusha to completely Yah or Yahweh, then to Yahuwah, right? Each level I grew, the previous level, although it may work for you, it'll work for some, it doesn't work for me because I know better. Like I'm not a baby. I mean, I'm still a baby in a lot of regards, but in regards to that, I'm not a baby. That's why I can't get away with doing that. That's why it doesn't work for me, right? And that teaches you that it's really not the name, right? It's the power that you associate with it. It's not the name, because the names just fall away. They really do. And a lot of people, especially as you're transitioning, my Hebrew brethren and sisters, they don't quite get that part yet. And so you kind of see them going back and forth, and if they say the name of Jesus, they'll use them both together. Jesus Yeshua or Jesus Yahusha. They'll say them together just to make sure if I ain't get it on one, I got it right on the other. It's like it's kind of funny, but I get that they're growing, so I leave them alone. I was like, they growing, they gonna get it, they gonna get it sooner or later, right? So I really stopped being a butthole to people that do that, because now I understand what's actually happening, right? It's that same thing he talking about. Listen, for those not used to acronyms, here is how it works. The first time or two you encounter an acronym, think about what the words mean. Get a sense, an understanding of the concept being talked about. Then forget about the individual words making up the acronym and use the acronym as a name associated with the meaning and concept the acronym represents. Subsequently, AO or AUO becomes a name like Fred, a name that you associate with a finite but seemingly infinite evolving primordial consciousness. It is that simple. AO becomes the proper name of a particular conceptual entity. If you do not treat the acronym as a name, you may feel obligated to look up what the constituting words are every time you see it. Dutifully, looking up acronyms wastes time and effort and generates little value. The individual words are not important. The concept, the definition, the meaning is important. Attach those to the acronym itself and go on. If you forget the concept associated with AO, look it up in the acronym list at the beginning of each book and follow the page reference to where it was first defined. However, if you have a firm grasp on the meaning and significance of AO, then the individual words that AO represent are not important. Let them go. Do not struggle with how habitual language has wired your brain, which is a big thing that our brethren and sisters are dealing. That's the biggest thing that they deal with coming out the church, trying to just find out just really who we are, who we're really worshiping. You know, it's crazy. However, if you have a firm grasp on the meaning and significance of AO, then the individual words that AO represent are not important. Let them go. Do not struggle with how habitual language has wired your brain. Rewiring is difficult and provides little value for the effort spent. Acronyms are handy for condensing long descriptive titles into short names. I use them extensively through the text because an acronym has the nifty attribute that it carries its own definition within its name. Treat them as words and symbols the same way you would treat any name of any noun, and your memory will not seem so sieve like. Problem solved. And that's the end of that set aside. I mean, I keep calling it set aside. Aside. We now have our okay. So now that he explained that, I'm gonna stop saying out physical matter reality, because every time I say it out, it's actually the acronym here. So I'm gonna just say PMR. And in MPMR, which is not, I'm sorry, in PMR, which is non-physical matter reality. Okay. We now have our two fundamental concepts in place. And as required by our local PMR casual logic, at least one, AO appears to be mystical from the view of PMR. These two assumptions provide the necessary and sufficient foundation called a footer in the construction trades from which to build a new big toe. Neither is a new idea. Darwin ushered in the theory of evolution by natural selection in the late 1850s. The concept of AO is and has always been, at least since about 600 BC, a fundamental concept in various philosophic, spiritual, metaphysical, and religious traditions. For our purposes, we utilize only the bare basics of this concept: no frills, no dogma, no extraneous conditions or attributes, just a plain, simple, minimalistic, absolute, unbounded oneness, a form of potential energy that appears to be non physical from the limited PMR point of view. AO is seemingly infinite primordial consciousness whose beginning depends upon a casual requirement that is so far beyond our local reality that it is outside our rational consideration. As refrigerator light bulbs, sunshine, or stock market dynamics are outside of the rational consideration of our intestinal bacteria. Nevertheless, the bacteria are indirectly and powerfully affected by these things. And we almost done, y'all. So a few more sentences. The fundamental process of evolution is what enables and necessitates growth, learning, and change. Without the fundamental process, nothing could become more than it is now. All change would be random, directionless, and purposeless. We know from our personal experience and the diversity of biological systems that this is not the case, that there is a fundamental imperative for all life forms to grow and evolve is obvious. Furthermore, it is also obvious that exploring the possibilities and investing in what works is the engine that drives the process. The evolution of biological forms on Earth, though a special application of a more general fundamental process, demonstrates these facts adequately. From the foundation of these two assumptions alone, we will construct, piece by piece, a rational big toe. Remember, for those that are new, toe stands for, it's an acronym, theory of everything, or our perception of this life around us, right? We're developing our little toe into a big toe or a bigger toe, at least bigger than what we had before we started this process, right? From the foundation of these two assumptions alone, we will construct, piece by piece, a rational big toe based primarily on direct experimental evidence with some reasonable conjecture added to bind it all together. It will be shaped by whatever common data points, accepted facts, and truths we can find. If successful, there will be no known facts or truths that conflict with this big toe. The degree of your success in corroborating this reality model with your experience depends on the correctness of my big toe and on the correctness of the truths and facts with which you test it. The sub foundation has been laid. Next, we need to develop the basic logical results and consequences of our two basic assumptions. In the process, we will improve and refine our understanding of each assumption. If things are not crystal clear at this point, they will become clearer as we proceed. By the end of section 4, you will be able to pull these concepts together to a complete into I'm sorry by the end of section 4, you will be able to pull these concepts together into a complete foundation for the reality model of section 5. Developing basic concepts may be tedious, but this is where the big picture must necessarily begin. Getting the basics is usually the least fun part, but also the most crucial. Let's get started. The adventure begins. Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. And that is the end of chapter 24. So if y'all stayed this long, right, we actually about to get into the real good stuff. And if you thought this stuff that we read ahead of already was good, you in for a treat. But after we finish it, we almost done with this, y'all. We almost done with this book. I can't believe we're almost done with this. But after we read this, we're gonna take a break from this trilogy to put in the meditation book, right? That way, by practicing meditation more, you should be going through the gateway process. If not the gateway process, you should be doing some meditation to actually get the experience so you can actually develop spiritually so you can understand what's really going on, right? You should be having your own personal experimentation time. And when we kind of come back here in the morning, we just kind of we share what we learned, go to the community section, share your progress. But you definitely should not be where you were when you first joined me, right? I know some people gonna come and go, some people stay a little bit longer, some people will be with me from the beginning to the end, right? And that'll be very few, very few in between, right? But you should get what you came to get when you found this channel, right? And hopefully that's growth. Even if you don't grow with us on the path that we're growing, you should at least be broken out of religious dogma. At least we should have been able to free you from that jail cell, right? Or at least give you the courage to free yourself and run as fast as you can away from it. All religious dogma. I don't care if it's Christian, Buddhism, whatever, right? You should at least get that when you come here. All right. So I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today, y'all. It is the last day of the month, February 28th, 2022, day 43 of year 4, reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 4-year consecutive day count. We have been present for 1,061 days, except for on the Sabbath day. We take those days off, right? We read the complete Annunaki Bible, Tablet D, pages 96 through 104. And in my big toe, we finished up the rest of chapter 24, starting on page 198, all the way to page 203. All right, y'all. So with that being said, thank y'all for hanging out. Y'all bless you. Good day. That's our closing for the day, y'all, for real. Look, but I am gonna post that early at the beginning, I was telling you about the Hopi prophecy and some of those tablets that were split up between the nations. Y'all gotta watch this if y'all haven't seen it before. I remember that as we was going through a portion in here in the Anunnaki Bible, while I was going through one of its tablets. And as you listen to it, you will see exactly what I was saying. Okay, so I'll share that here shortly. All right, y'all. I love y'all. And I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bruce. Bye, y'all.